Hello and welcome to another video from Sustenance and Cover, the only channel you need to not only survive the current apocalypse but actually enjoy it. Today's going to be another video about free fruit and nut trees. This time we're going to talk about how to get them from cuttings. A cutting is anything that you take off of a tree from the top, the limbs, not the shoots which come off of the root, but a limb off of the tree. This particular cutting I've never tried before, but they're all basically the same. It's either going to work or it ain't. This is called a catawba tree. A catawba tree or catawba tree. And it doesn't really grow fruit. It grows a long bean. I don't know if it's edible, but I do know that they grow worms. Catawba worms. In fact, a lot of people call it a catawba worm tree. But anyways, first thing we're going to do is cut a limb off. And then you're going to take scissors and you're going to cut all of these leaves off. Now there are some exceptions. Some trees you'll have some leaves. I'll have to show you when we get to the top. But you can just trim the leaves down, or if the leaves are small enough, just leave the leaves. But really, this thing here, the way it's designed, you just pretty much got to cut them all off because they're not going to live. Okay. Alright, that's done. Now see the ones that are on top? Those will live. So we're going to leave them. They may not all live, but for the most part they'll live. And sometimes if you got a leaf that's a little too big, you can just trim it a little bit. Or sometimes, you know, take and cut it at an angle depending on the shape of the leaf. And then that makes it easier for that to live. Now, I want you to see this angle I'm going to cut. I'm going to cut right below where these limbs came out, because that's where roots are going to come out if they decide to do so. So we're going to take and cut at an angle, like a little spear, and stick it in some dirt as far down as it'll go. Okay, now this here, a lot of people call these scions, but I don't think that name is for what we're doing here. A scion is usually a stick that you graft onto a rootstock. This we just call cuttings. But I always want my top to be square, and I want the bottom, like I say, to be where you can make some roots at an angle. See, so we've got these little limb areas where the roots are going to come out, and we've got this bottom where roots can come out. We're going to stick that in the dirt, and that's all you got to do. Let's see, this here is upside down. Cut that all square, and this is actually a little thicker, so we're going to use the pruners and cut that off at an angle. And your roots will be coming out of here and out of here, hopefully. Alright, now some things I'm going to tell you about is this stuff here. Rooting is a hormone, a rooting hormone. I bought this years ago. I have tried it with the rooting hormone. I've tried it without the rooting hormone. I've also tried it with the basic natural rooting hormone, which comes from weeping willows. I think you can actually use swamp willows, black willows, weeping willows, any kind of tree in the willow family, because willows are very good at rooting on their own. So somebody somewhere said, well, the hormone in the weeping willow is stronger than most trees. So you can cut up little pieces of weeping willow, put them in a glass of water, and put your shoots in there, your cuttings in there, and it'll help those cuttings to root. I've never seen that happen. Every single time I've ever tried to do it any other way, it just comes out the same exact way. You always get, with figs, you'll get a whole lot of them will make trees, and a few won't make trees. Like a persimmon, Japanese persimmon, maybe 1 out of 25 will make a tree. Same thing, mulberries, maybe 1 out of 10 will make a tree. And it doesn't matter if you put rooting hormone on them or not. Now, a year afterwards, now what I'm putting these in, this is just potting soil from the feed store. I done gave up on getting potting soil from Lowe's or Home Depot or Walmart, because this stuff is like garbage. But that's only $3 for like a 40-pound bag, and all I do is stick the shoots in that. Don't add any fertilizer whatsoever, no matter what. Just keep them watered. And the way I do that, I got an oil can. It makes it easier for me to put water on my cuttings without putting water all over my floor. Now, if you notice, I'm not using growing pots. These are clear plastic cups. And there's a reason for that.
Why?
Because when they start rooting, or when they start doing this, putting out green stuff, you'll think, wow, I got a tree. I'm going to go ahead and put my tree in a pot. Well, you can't do that because if it don't have roots, it's just going to fall apart and it's going to die. With this cup, when it's got roots, you'll see roots all the way around this thing. Something I didn't bring out here with me, but it's okay, is I'll just tell you, always write down what the tree is. Now, some things are obvious. This is a catalpa tree. It looks like different from anything else. It's not like any certain variety of catalpa tree. It's just a catalpa tree. But I'm still going to write catalpa tree on all of these so that I know what they are. And, you know, if they don't do right, I can throw them away. I don't have to worry if maybe it's one of those species that I got to put some kind of concern into. But in any case, I'm going to go ahead and water these two up because in a minute I am going to be putting some catalpa trees in there. Here's some that I did maybe 3 weeks ago. And these will always root no matter what because this is weeping willows. Full of rooting hormone. That thing will be a full-size weeping willow. By fall, I'll be able to put that in the ground if I want.
Wow.
Now, a lot of these things aren't good with super cold weather, so I won't put them in the ground. I'll transfer them to bigger pots in the fall.
Right.
Never transfer something in hot weather. And as far as hot weather goes, that's when you have to do cuttings. You can't do cuttings in the fall. They have to be done when it's hot. But you cannot do them in the sun. Do not ever put a cutting in the sun because it will just die, period. There's no exceptions to that rule. I keep everything in boxes so that way I don't have to mark every single one of these trees. I can just take and say, you know, well, like this here, everything in here is a legacy blueberry. So we know the label for that legacy blueberry is for all these legacy blueberries. Look how pretty that is. And in the fall, I'll probably put this in the ground. What really does good with cuttings, is blueberries, weeping willow, obviously, figs. I can't think of anything else that does really, really good with cuttings. But when you do your own cuttings, first thing you got to do is take and write this search on Google. Propagate blank trees from cuttings, shoots, or seeds. And that way you can get a better idea. It's a little too close. You can get a better idea of exactly what your chances are with each method, which method is the best for getting fruit, which one's going to yield the most trees the quickest. And another thing, before you put a whole lot of effort into something like this, is to type in U.S. Department of Agriculture hardiness zones. That's always a good idea because some trees can grow in zones where they cannot fruit. So you want to find out if you're wasting your time or not. I wish I'd have done this earlier. In fact, I did do this earlier, but I wanted to do a few more experiments and be able to make the video right. And I can tell you, I did experiment again with all the different rooting hormones and weeping willow hormones and nothing at all, and there's no difference. They're all exactly the same. Just stick your trees in some dirt and keep them wet. If you don't want to survive, don't listen to me.